Hello guys, welcome to my channel Techmon.in. This is the third part in the series on creating TicTacToe using Unity. So let me quickly show what we have created so far. So this is the splash screen. It will display for 5 seconds and then it will move to main screen here, right? On the top right corner we have a quit button. On clicking it, it will close the game. Then we have two buttons here, two player and player versus CPU. On clicking of each one of them, we will go to the game screen. But as you can see here, we have some persistent object as we discussed before. When I click on two player, it will pass the information that the game mode is two player to the next scene. And if we click on player versus CPU, it will pass this information that game mode is player versus CPU to the next scene. So let me click on that. So as you can see here, we have the game mode information as two player here, which was passed using the game object. Okay, so we already let me quickly go to the script, game script. As you can see here, we have destroyed the persistent object. Let me quickly show you. uh, Scenes, go to the main scene. So this is our persistent object. Initially it is the game mode is null. When I will click on this, the game mode is two player and it is not destroyed as you can see here, but the information is already loaded on our camera. Okay, so let me put it back together because we don't need that object any longer and we are going to delete it. Okay, so let's continue with our third scene, which is game screen, and let's create a UI for that. So first let's go to assets, put the background up. I'm going to center it, create 2 times 1.5. So I've scaled the background. Now I'm going to put the quit button here. So as you can see, it is in the background. We have to increase its order in the sorting layer. It looks too big. Let me bring it down to 50. No, it's look too small. 60% should do the trick. What? Okay, so this will do. So we have already written our script for this one, so we are not going to write it again. Just wait, we'll come back to this here in a while. Let me delete it for now. We are going to create it using UI, so as we did for the other piece. Okay, so first let's put the board up. It is in the background. Let's bring it in front, center at 0, and from the top 0.575. Okay, let's move it manually. Okay, 1.5 looks good. Okay, now let's also scale it to 1.5. Not too large. Okay, now okay, so we have created that. We have our board there using this here. So camera is not currently pointing at this canvas is not pointing at camera, so let's change it from here and also put our camera object here. Okay, now our UI and camera look exactly same. Now what we are going to do, we have text box here, so we are going to, before that, we are going to put across here sorting layer 1, and size wise it looks good. Okay, and let's similarly put a knot here, sorting 1 6 1. Okay, now what we are going to do, we are going to create text boxes. So we put it here, center it. We can also change the font color as we discussed previously. So I'm going to put it white, make it bold. So our canvas is in the background still. So let it also bring it in front. So this is for first player. First player. Okay. Okay. So it looks too small. So let me increase font size and scale it by 2, 5, 1.5. Okay, so now it looks good. I'm going to place it here, center of cross. Okay, now I'm going to make a copy of this. So what it is telling is that our first player is cross. Okay, similarly we'll make it for second player. Second player. Okay, let's also change the text here and just move it to its position. So I'm going to 450. Okay, so this looks good now. Now we are also going to create as I mentioned, we stopped, we did not create the quit button here, so we are going to do it using button here. So let me name it quit button, and it as you can see, text box appeared here. We are going to delete it because we are going to put a cross sprite here, so as you can see here. Now I'm going to click on preserve aspect ratio, and it is currently too small, so let's scale it. 1.5, 1.5. I think we have to go by 2. Now yeah, it looks good now. So let me put it on top right corner here. Okay, uh, yep. Okay, now what we are going to, we also need to tell the user whose turn it is now currently, right? So we are going to put the instructions at the bottom here. So let me create another, or we can make a copy of these text box here. Copy. So this is instructions title. Okay, so I'm going to move it down here. Yeah, center at 0 and name it instructions. So ideally instructions should be little 75. Let me, okay, okay. I'll now make a copy of that on my mat. Instructions. Here all the instructions will go. So let me make it little smaller, and here. So above box is only, containing the telling that below whatever mentioned in, below it are the instructions. Okay, and it is just the title. In the below one, in the this instructions text box, we'll put the information like is it a draw, or player one or two won, or which player's turn is it. So we'll put all those notification, all those instructions down here. Okay, so now our UI looks good. Now let's start working on the functioning of it. So first let me show you what we are going to create. So it is in background. Let me pull it at front, scale it. So what this empty cell is doing is, we will place this empty cell in all these all the 9 cells of this board, and once a user click on this empty cell will get destroyed, and in its place we will spawn either a cross or a not, depending upon which player turn is it. Okay, so I'm just going to put it one of them here. First we'll create the script for that, and then we'll move and make a copy of this empty cell for all the others. Okay, so let me just rename it empty cell 0, or yeah, let's call it 0 because it's at the 0th row and 0th column, right? 0 1 2, we have total 3 rows, and 0 1 2 3 columns. Okay, now first there's a difference between these buttons here. These buttons already have the on click properties, so I haven't added the script here, right? Here on this is a button, it can already it already has on click property, while these sprites does not have any property like that. So for these we have to add properties like collision detector, or on press of any keyboard, or on mouse click, we have to add that, but that functionality is already on the buttons. So for buttons we just need to write a script, which for quit game we have already written in a previous part. So I'm just going to drag and drop here, because there is no fancy thing in this one close application. We just on once this button is clicked, we are just quitting the application. Okay, so I've put the script here. Now I'm going to add the function. We will pass the game object, quit button game object, look for the script. We just put there quit game and look for on click function. That's it. That's how we have added the script to this one. But as you can see here, on normal sprites we don't have that on click button there, right? It cannot take any inputs. But what we'll do, we will click on add components here, go to physics 2D, and add a box collider 2D. Okay, so with this we will have all the functionalities. It will now be able to take as input the keyboard inputs or the mouse events. Okay, mouse click events. Okay, now let's create a script for this one. C# script. I'm just calling is empty script representing empty cell. It should be loaded here, right? We have quit. Okay, so what we are going to do, we are just going to tell the system to spawn cross or not when this is being clicked on. Okay, also we will as you know, we will have 9 empty cells in total, because we have 9 places on this port, right? So we also have to assign a unique ID to each one of them, right? Otherwise how will we know which out of these 9 was clicked on, right? So we will maintain a ID for each one of them. Public integer type ID. Okay, that's all for one. Second, we are going to create on mouse down. Okay, when mouse button is clicked on that, what we are going to do, we are going to spawn a new object. Okay, so we won't write the spawn script here, but on the camera object. So as you can see here, our camera contains the script, game script. We will write the functionality here. So before that we have to create few parameters, like we also need a functionality to track whose turn it is, right? So why we are not writing the script to spawn objects here, because this object, empty object, will get destroyed once we have clicked on that and spawn cross or not, right? But game object is the game script is attached to camera, which will remain throughout. Okay, so that's why we will create all those functionalities here and attach it to camera. So now first we need to track whose turn it is, right? So how will we track that? We will use enum seed. I'm going to tell you what it is, so let me complete this first. Empty cross not. So what enum does, it creates like three named variables and assign them some value. As you can see here, when I hover over it, we have seed dot empty equal to 0. So inside seed we have a variable named empty which has value 0. Inside seed we have cross with value 1 and not with 2. So starting it start assigning each of these variables a value starting from 0. So empty is 0, cross is 1, not is 2, and if we had something like a, it will have 3, right? So if we don't use enum, we have to manually do all these things: assignment of values, empty equal to 0, cross equal to 1, and not equal to 2. Okay, we'll have to go it this way. So why we are creating this? Because we have to keep track whose turn it is, right? I could assign 1 to 1 as cross. Just imagine 1 is for cross and 2 for not, and I can write my conditions, but that way the code will not be readable. And we if we are looking at this code after a month, after a few weeks, right, we may forget whether one is was for empty or cross or not, right? So that is always preferred that we use named variable. Both writing it both the way is correct. There's no right or wrong. It's just that the first statement is pretty concise. If we had too many variables, so it we don't need to write too many assignment operations and all that, right? We can just pass another name here and it will automatically get assigned fourth value, which is 0, 1, 2, and third value basically. Okay, so we'll go with this here. Now it is just in seed is just like a data type. Now it creates user defined data types which is of int type, you can say. Now it is of seed type. Okay, now we have to create a variable of that. So now we will, just like we wrote here, string data type and then name of the variable. Now it we have created a data type which can take either of these three value, and its name is seed. So we are writing a data type name seed, and we are creating a variable turn. Okay, so this will keep track whose turn it is. So as I mentioned here, our first player will always be cross. Okay, so when awake function is called when the scene is loaded. Okay, so we will set turn as first player, which is cross. Okay, so we are going to set turn equal to seed dot cross. Okay, so automatically in turn the value is like 1 for which is for cross. Uh, so we could also use some random function which will assign 0 or 1 or you know on automatically or randomly when the scene is loaded, but I'm trying to keep things simple here. We can just replace it with random and it will also do the job. Now we have just created a variable. Now we are when what we are going to do, when we click on this empty cell, it will spawn either a cross or not, right? But in this script there's no way in knowing what is cross and what is not. What does cross and not looks like? So we will create a public variable of type game object in which we will pass cross and not game object. How we will pass those, we will look at that, but let's proceed. And also what we are going to do, we are writing a spawn script. When empty object is clicked, it will spawn cross or not, right? So we will write a spawn. Okay, just spawn. So spawn will take two values. First the game object, which will be empty cell, and second is the ID of that cell. So we will call this function spawn from here. We'll see how we are going to do that. So ID, okay, that's all. Now we will write our conditions. We will spawn the new object. So conditions to spawn cross or not. Okay, so if now we will make use of our turn variable. If turn equal to, if our turn is seed dot cross, my bad, cross. Okay, if the turn is of cross, which is of first player, then what we are going to do, we will instantiate a cross. So we use instantiate to create or spawn game objects on the screen. So instantiate takes first parameter is the object to be created, to be spawned, which in our case is cross. We will pass it later on, but we will create see how will we tell the system what cross looks like and what not looks like later. But let's now just mention cross here, that cross will contain the image of cross. Okay, this is the first object which is of game type. Next is on this space, we have such a vast huge space, right, where to spawn this object. For example, for this cross here, we have x position x, y, and z, right? And its x is -6, y is 1, and z is 0. Okay, so we also need to tell that. So, but we don't require to hard code it, because we already know the position of our empty cell, right? We are going to use that the position of empty cell to spawn our cross or not. So I'll make use of this cell here, dot transform. Inside transform, we have a position value which contain x, y, z coordinates. Okay, so that is one of the value. Next, as you can see here, rotation. So what rotation is, so if this is my asset, let me rotate it. As you can see now, currently it is completely aligned to x, y, z, all the axes 0, 0, 0, as you can see. But I can rotate it if I have to create a rotated one. Okay, so but we are not don't want to rotate the object. What we'll do, there is an option to pass quaternion dot identity, which tells to don't pass anything. Okay, don't pass anything means it will set all these rotation axes x, y, z as 0, 0, 0. Okay, that's it for this one here. Okay, so we are going to copy this here, paste it, and write a else condition if turn is of not. Okay, so what we are going to do in rest, the position of empty cell will remain same. We don't want to do any rotation, so this will remain like that only. Instead of cross, we just pass not here. Okay, that's all the change. Now we have created spawned, let me delete this one also here. So in play here on the place of empty cell, right, we also need to destroy this empty cell, because we don't want it to be there any longer. And if it will be there, we will be able to click on it, and again another cross will be spawned on the same position. Okay, so we will just write destroy here, and we are going to destroy empty cell. So pass that. Okay, so our spawn script is complete. All left to do is to call it from here. Okay, so how we are going to call it, I'm also going to create a public object of type game object, which is camera. Okay, so as you know, this entire script is attached to our camera object, right? And this camera object right here. Okay, and also the spawn function is inside this script. So we are going to call that using camera object. So I'm going to do get component. So using get component, we are going to access the script, and the name of the script is game script. This will get us the access to the script, and inside this we have a function spawn. It is not public yet, so it won't be accessible to this. Earlier it won't be accessible to that, but now it will be. So we are going to spawn. Okay, so now as you can see, spawn takes two things: one, empty cell, game object, and ID of it, right? So as you know, this script is being will be attached to a empty cell here, like this, right? So we can just pass it using this dot game object. So this will pass the game object of to whatever object it is being attached to, or from whichever object it is being called. Okay, and ID is just the ID which is there. We have not made use of ID yet, but we'll see how we are going to make use of it later. Okay, so that's it. Okay, we are done now. Let me run it. Okay, so just before that, we also have to tell the game script how does a cross and knot look like, right? So what we are going to do, we are going to create two prefabs. What are prefabs? I will tell you in a while. So as you can see here, I've made some changes on this sprite here, on this image here, right? I scaled it by 25%, both X and Y, right? But if I pull another image, as you can see here, it is not scaled. It is still 1 1 in both X and Y, right? And if I pull another, no changes, right? But what if I want to save these changes, and later on, if through my script or anywhere else I want to spawn my script with these same properties whichever I save, how will I do that, right? We have to make it so it can be spawned from script with the property. So that is what prefabs does. What we'll do, I will store this as a prefab here. I will drag it, drop it here, and let me rename it cross. Okay, now let me delete this one. Now no matter how many copies I will pull it, so XYZ XY position, you will see it will change depending upon where we are spawning it, but as you can see, it is coming out to be scaled as 0.25, right? No matter how many times I pull it. So that is what prefabs are used for. We can just save the properties of the sprites and call it prefab. It is like a game object. Okay, so next also do it for not. So I've made the changes here, and I'm just going to pull it down here, and it will create a prefab out of it automatically. Okay, now let's go to our camera object. As you can see here, we will pass our cross and knot, and also let's look at our empty cell. Currently there's no script attached to it, so let us attach a script to it, and let's give it a ID of, let's keep it ID 0 because it represents 0 row and 0 column. Okay, and camera, let's attach a camera to it. Okay, now let's run our script here. So we have only placed one empty cell here, so I'll click on that. I think something. Okay, I know what went wrong. Prefabs. So as you can see here in sorting order, they are in the background. So they were called, but in the background. Okay, so let me delete them again. See, that is the purpose of prefab. They come with all the properties we save them with. So let me scale them again and put them on sorting order on the top. Okay, let me do that for not as well. 1.25, 1.25, and then 2. Okay, so let me pull cross, not. Let's delete these two. Cross, not, and let's attach them to camera once again. Okay, now we are done. So, okay, not again. I think something is else is also happening. Let's check it. Okay, the error we are getting because it no longer we are getting this information, right? Basically, this script happens when we are coming from previous scene, right? Because then we have this object here. So, but we don't have that any longer. Okay, let's ignore that for now. Okay, now as you can see, it was spawned. Okay, so we will uncomment it when we will be coming from previous scene, but for testing purpose and creation, let's keep it like that. Now what we are going to do, we have for prefab also, as you can see here, for this empty cell, let's create copies. So it is 1. Let's move it here. Okay, and ID 1. Let's make another copy, move it here, ID 2. This will have ID 3. Let's bring it down here, move it to the left. Let me do this for all of them and we'll resume it from there. So we have all these 9 of them in place. So as you can see, but as you can see, all the crosses are appearing. Reason being, we have not changed the turn. So once we have spawned a cross, we will change it to c dot not. And similarly, if we have spawned not, we will turn it to cross. Okay, so let's check it out. So first one is cross, then not, cross, not, cross, not, cross, not. As you can see, it will keep changing, right? But we are not showing anything in the instructions as of now. So let's create another variable in here, which will be of text type, and we call it instructions. Okay, and what we are going to do, let me on camera, as you can see here, we have another input, and here we will pass instructions text box. Okay, and initially when the game is started or when the scene is loaded, initial instruction. So what we are going, uh, dot text, we are going to inside instruction is a text box, right? Inside the text box we have a property text, and to that text we are assigning the player turn. Okay, it is or we can write it is, let's simply write turn. Okay, so let's first create the instruction. Since it is initially for cross only, we can just write cross or turn first player. Okay, so let me quickly show you how it will look like when we just run it for the first time. Okay, turn first. Okay, it is actually getting trimmed, reason being the it is because of the size. So let's increase its size. uh, so instructions could be little longer, so I'm just keeping it here and at center. Okay, and the instruction will be at center. Okay, so let's run it again. So turn off first player. Okay, we will change this based on our conditions. So we know first player is cross, so here we will also change the instructions. Here it was change the turn. Okay, so now it is second player turn. Second player. Okay, let's copy it and write it back to first player. Okay, so now it is second player turn. Now it is first, second, first, second, first, second, and so on. Okay, so that's all for this video because it already is little long. So what we'll do, we will write two main scripts and we will finalize. We will create. I will create two more videos and we will finalize the game in these two. In the first video, we will write for two-player game. The win condition. The draw condition or so on, and also as you can see here, if we have like three crosses in a row, it is not showing a bar. So what we'll do, if we have a three again, so we will place a bar here like that. Okay, like that. So we'll also cover that in the next part, and then the video after that we will write the AI script. So it for AI we will just need to invoke that AI function. It will give us the result. Okay, so that's all for today. Thank you so much for your time. Bye bye.